Sunday afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to another video. And this is a video that is really behind, but now I'm going to finally bring it to you. And these are going to be, or this is going to be the 17 movies I watched in December. And December was a really successful month movie-wise for me, because I watched a few rewatches, of course, like classic Christmas movies. Some new favorites ended up on my best of the year list, and those movies are going to be on this list. So there's a lot of variety on this list. So let's get started with Violent Night. And this ended up being in my top 20 best films of the year. So this is essentially Die Hard with Santa Claus. Santa Claus protects this rich family, and he takes out all of the adversaries brutally. So I saw this movie twice last month, actually a couple days after I saw the first viewing of it. Ow. But anyway, this was a really fun Christmas movie, and I'm pretty sure that I'll watch it almost every Christmas. That was Violent Night. The next one I watched was, I'm counting this as a movie, but it's technically Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. And this dropped on Disney Plus in, I believe, I want to say late November, somewhere around there. And this is basically about the Guardians of the Galaxy celebrating Christmas to try and cheer up Peter Quill. So Drax and Mantis goes to Earth, and they kidnap Kevin Bacon, and they have him as a gift for Peter Quill. Really solid Marvel special. I haven't watched many Marvel shows on Disney Plus, but this one was pretty solid, and that was the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. The next one I watched was a rewatch of Christmas with the Cranks. And I watched this one, well, maybe a few other times on AMC. And this is about like Tim Allen and Jamie Lee Curtis. They're decided to skip Christmas because their daughter is in Peru, and they just don't want to celebrate Christmas. So they plan a cruise, but then their daughter comes home a couple days before Christmas. So they have to scramble with the neighborhood to get the best Christmas possible. This is a very, very weird movie, and it's definitely not one of my favorites, but I watch it here and there. But it's actually adapted from Skipping Christmas by John Grisham. Yeah, that John Grisham. So it's a okay Christmas movie, but I don't really revisit it that much. That was Christmas with the Cranks. Next one was a rewatch of Avatar. And you'll definitely see the sequel on this list, but I watched this the week before the second one was released. And this tells a story of a Marine jarhead who goes to this moon called Pandora, and he falls in love with the world and becomes one with the Na'vi. So it's basically your soldier going into this strange world and falling in love with it, and then he has to fight off his. He fights the people that he was supposed to be with in the end. So this is definitely Pocahontas and Fern Gully, The Last Samurai. We've seen this before, but it's still a visually awesome movie to look at. Avatar. The next one I watched was a rewatch of a movie I haven't seen in quite some time. And don't laugh at me, Reindeer Games. But after rewatching this, I actually have a guilty pleasure fun with it. It's essentially about this guy who escapes prison after somebody shanked his best friend. But he tries to hook up with the allegedly dead best friend's girlfriend. Turns out the girlfriend is with bank robbers. Well, casino robbers, because they want to rob a casino on Christmas Eve, and they dress up as Santa Claus. It's a really silly premise, but it's a really fun action thriller. But that was Reindeer Games. And the next one is Avatar: The Way of Water. The sequel, after a 13-year-old movie, is, in my opinion, almost the same exact movie, but 30 minutes longer in the water. So, Jake Sully is back. He has a family. And Quaritch is also back, but he's Na'vi now. So Jake Sully and Neytiri and their kids get exiled to the water world, and you pretty much get the same exact climax. And then we have like 3 more of these movies coming out within the next few years. So that's a lot of blue people. But this movie did end up making my best of list because it still is a visually stunning movie. But in my opinion, there's nothing really new to the story. It's just in water. But moving on. And this one I was really disappointed with. I finally watched the original Black Christmas in 1974. So I always wanted to watch this, and it was on Shudder. And this essentially is a quintessential slasher film. But I was kind of disappointed by it. But it's about like this maniac who stalks this sorority house around Christmas and starts picking off these girls one by one. It's really disturbing, especially with the first kill, because you end with the girl in the attic. And not to mention, this is the same director as A Christmas Story, Bob Clark. So these are 2 totally different movies. But I still think A Christmas Story is way better. But I really wanted to like this movie. I just didn't see that it was for me. But in my opinion, I would rewatch this over the 2019 remake because that movie is trash. But I've never seen the 2006 one yet. It's on my list. But moving on, I watched Black Friday, which was on Stars. And this stars like Bruce Campbell and quite a few other people. And it's a group of employees getting prepared for Black Friday at a toy store. But then you have all of the shoppers turn into parasitic zombies. This was a really fun movie that I really want to rewatch again. It has that Bruce Campbell style humor where it's over the top and just a bloody good time. That was Black Friday. Speaking of Friday, Friday After Next. This is essentially a Christmas film, and it's the third in the Friday series. So, Craig and Day Day are now security officers in like a strip mall in Compton. And they notice like this dude dressed as Santa Claus going around houses and stealing everybody's gifts. So it's a very hilarious entry filled with Christmas spirit. Very raunchy Christmas spirit. I had fun with this, and it's definitely one that I want to rewatch a few more times. The next one I watched was Why Him? And this movie was released back in 2016. Stars Bryan Cranston, James Franco. And it's basically like Bryan Cranston's daughter meeting James Franco. And James Franco wants to marry Bryan Cranston's daughter. So this is your essential, like, guess who's coming to dinner kind of plot line where this dude is crazy and the family has nothing to do with him, but they start getting to know each other and they become friends in the end. Really solid movie. And yes, this is considered a Christmas movie. And not to mention, the cameo of Kiss is top notch. But really enjoyable movie. Very raunchy movie. But I love it. Why him? Next up is a rewatch of Jim Carrey's The Grinch. So this movie came out in 2000, and it reimagines the classic Dr. Seuss adaptation in live action. This one explores a little bit more about the Grinch's backstory, where he was made fun of as a kid, and it's actually kind of a weird motivation. But anyway, gives him a trimmer and tells him he has a beard, so he cuts himself shaving, and then all of a sudden he hates Christmas. It's goofy, but it definitely has a lot of heart. But that was Jim Carrey's The Grinch. Next one, and these next four movies I watched were the day after Christmas. And they're all 2022 releases. So, first one I watched that day was Studio 666. finally. But this movie came out in February of last year, and this is like a horror comedy featuring the Foo Fighters. So the band goes to like this haunted house and starts recording their new album there. And then all sorts of weird stuff starts happening. Dave Grohl becomes possessed, and he starts killing the band off one by one. This one was okay, but I would definitely need a rewatch of it. That was Studio 666. Next one is a rewatch of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I did a review on both of these movies last year. You can check that out. But this essentially pits Doctor Strange up against Scarlet Witch or Wanda Maximoff. There's the Illuminati cameo, of course, with Mr. Fantastic, Agent Carter, an alternate version of Captain Marvel and Mr. Fantastic, and of course, Professor X. That scene alone made this movie better, in my opinion, because this is a really good sequel. It actually made number 10 on my top 20 favorite movies. But my favorite Marvel movie of last year was Black Panther Wakanda Forever. But I still like this one quite a bit. And not to mention you get the addition of America Chavez, which is kind of like Doctor Strange, but she can make portals to other multiverses. But that was Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. The next one was All Quiet on the Western Front. And this was on Netflix. And this is the third attempt at making this magnificent war story. But it takes place during World War One, and it's at the tail end of this war. And a group of boys decide to enlist to see if their country is worth saving, but they were in for a lot worse than what they thought they would handle, because trench warfare during World War One was the most brutal and bloodiest moments of military history. This movie blew me away on its brutality, reality, and emotion. I still can't stop thinking about this movie, and it ended up being my second favorite movie of last year. Really good war movie. But that was All Quiet on the Western Front. The next one I watched, and like I said, all four of these were on the same day. Terrifier 2. Another movie that made my top 20 best of list. But this is the sequel to the original, bigger, better, bloodier, and it actually has a story. So Art the Clown is back, and he delivers some of the most over-the-top gore I've ever seen in movies. Need I mention the bedroom scene? that scene was very hard to watch for me. But this whole movie is a fever dream, and it is a glorious, brutal, great time. And not to mention, you have like one of my new favorite final girls in Sienna. It's definitely going to be one of those movies that I'll watch a lot more often. Because this is how extreme horror cinema should be. But that was Terrifier 2. The next one I watched was I Want to Dance with Somebody. And this was my final new release movie that I saw in 2022. This also made my best of list. But this is the Whitney Houston biopic starring Naomi Ackie as Whitney Houston. And this just showcases her ups and downs in stardom. So, of course, we know all about like her tumultuous relationship with Bobby Brown. And that element gets explored very well in this movie. Naomi Ackie really brings it as Whitney Houston, but I have no idea if she's going to be nominated. I'd pick her, but a really solid biopic that I'll definitely need to rewatch at some point. But that was I Want to Dance with Somebody. And the final movie I watched, and this was on New Year's Eve, threw on Bullet Train. So this was another rewatch. And this is about a group of people that board this bullet train in Tokyo, and it's multi-perspective. So, Ladybug, played by Brad Pitt, is an unlucky assassin in front of it all. So it just fights to survive, and this is a really fun, action-packed thriller filled with a lot of comedy. One of the funnest movies I saw last year, and that was Bullet Train. So that wraps up the 17 movies I watched in December. A very good movie month, and I'm finally done with my 2022 content. Yay. So, look out for more videos. I'm not sure what I'm going to film next, but I might bring you my January TBR here in a couple minutes. Then I also mentioned like an author spotlight, and I might actually have like a secret review coming up right after this video maybe. So look out for all these videos soon. I'm hoping to get them out to you in the next couple days. But otherwise, enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.